Okay, doing another live stream today, and I'm on a necessary sidetrack from my working on my computer reformatting and all that. Uh, Let me check my audio over there. I'll make sure everything's working before I continue on there. Um, Here is what I'm going to be doing my video on. This is a let's see. I'll just show it on the endoscope. That's why it's over there. Um, it's a water hose Y. I haven't taken it out of the package, and I'll show you why. I guess I'll leave it like that. And let's see. Yeah, let me switch mics, and I'll just go on over there. Okay, should be on the wireless mic. I want to make sure the audio's good and everything. Okay, so let me check it again because I'm not sure where I was, if I was on the wireless mic or not. Okay, now I know for sure. Usually I can just hear it and tell instantly. Well, I was listening to it on the laptop, and it's the speakers, on a laptop aren't anything compared to my little sound system, so it's a little harder to tell the difference. It sounds tinny. Everything sounds tinny on the laptop. Okay, so here I am on my endoscope, and this is a brass water hose Y, and I got brass because I'm hoping it would last longer. Used to brass products, lasted forever, but nowadays you can't buy anything worth crap. Okay, so see, that's one valve. It does work, but it's barely, and this is brand new. See, it's now it turns better than it did, and that one it took a lot of force the first time to get it to open. So there was evidently, I used to be a tool maker, and I've worked in a machine shop. My first job was in a machine shop, so I'm familiar with how things are made. And my second job was in a machine shop with a foundry. So I poured brass. I poured aluminum and brass. So I'm pretty doggone familiar with how things are made. And you're going to have burrs when you machine things. You're going to have burrs. You need to deburr stuff, especially if you're making valves and stuff. We weren't making anything that fancy. We were making yard decorations, but in the foundry. But in the machine shop, I did all kinds of work. And this one, you'd break that. I'm not going to push too hard because I'm already, this time, I might break it loose. Since I've already done my return authorization, I actually put it in the mailbox. I pushed pretty hard just now. I mean, I'm not faking or anything. That one there takes a pretty good little amount. It's kind of funny because you move it a few times and it starts moving easier, and then when you let it sit there just for like while I was talking. But that one, you can feel where it hits, where it catches. So I'm figuring there's a burr in there or something. Actually, I saw in the pictures of these things, you can see that hex in there. You can actually put a big old Allen wrench and unscrew that. They come apart. Well, I saw some customer pictures. Somebody had taken one apart, and they all look the same. They look like they're all made by the same company somewhere overseas. China. They almost always say China. This one will come off. And there were some that didn't have the plastic cover over it, and they are different. I think they're different companies because some of them had really bad reviews. This one had like 74% 5 stars. But I think where it gets you, but there were some reviews, and I'm going to show them in a minute. So this is going back. And it's really, I mean, it just completely pissed me off when I got it, and it was like that because, just like everybody else, I don't have time for this crap. This was a big sidetrack. The old one started leaking, and I'll show you the old one. Went ahead and brought it in so I could show it. And plus, I thought, well, I'll look at it. Okay, there we go. I've never been, even with I did not see there was a big old hole in it. Even with my magnifying glass, I couldn't see that. Actually, it may have kind of a chunk may have fell out of there. I didn't throw it around or anything, but anyway, the last time I looked at it, all I could see was a crack. It's been kind of laying out there in the garage for several days, maybe almost a week. It was, it just started leaking, you know, all the floor was just running with water. Not real bad, but too bad to leave it. And I had to, and it's actually in the middle of another sidetrack where I took, we had a TV on the wall in the kitchen, you know, one of those swivel mounts, and old kind, an old CRT TV. And I took it down from my mom because she kept banging her head on it. She doesn't use it much anymore, and she keeps forgetting and running into it, and it really hurts. And so she wanted it down, so I took it down. Now this one's been there for years. I don't know. We had the. This is to what the reason I did this was to. Okay, this is the washer connections in the garage, which shares the wall with the kitchen, and the refrigerator's right on the other side of that wall. And this one, it might even come apart too. I'm not sure, but I'm not fooling with it. But they're pretty tight, but they will turn after all these years. This one's aluminum. And of course the valve handles are plastic, and you could break them. At least, yeah, they're plastic. I can feel them flexing. But the valves actually still worked, but of course it kept leaking when you turn it off because that crack is, yeah, I think it still kept leaking. I can't remember now. I was looking at where that crack is. Yeah, I can't remember which way. Oh yeah, that way. But you see, even one that's been, this was not like, I think I kind of remember going to get this and got it at Walmart, and I kept, you know, looking at them and looking at all the different, they had like 3 or 4 different ones, brands, plastic, you know, to choose from. I think they had some brass ones and they were like 10 or 15 bucks or something. But anyway, this one was like around the $5 range. And it lasted 5 to 8 years, I'm not sure. The first one, I remember it didn't have any valves on it. And I thought, you know, that was convenient to have the valves. I thought, well, if they leak, you know, I was afraid they'd be, could leak on you real easy, because I have seen these over the years. I haven't used a lot of them, but I've seen them, and I've seen them that the valves leaked, you know. But anyway, now I've got junk everywhere. Thing is flaky, but that's just old. I mean, it lasted. It was worth around whatever, $5, $7. I don't remember what I spent on it now. But this one was $8.50, and I mean, it looks good. But the problem, oh, and here's the other thing. This is, if I'd have known that, I'd never ordered it. Well, I kind of did, but I didn't pay enough attention. Let's see if I can get this in here right, where it can be read. Which way is that right side up? The camera is really hard to turn so that something is right side up in it. The little, it's a kind of a snake camera. You can, okay, warning. This product contains chemicals known to the state of California to cause cancer and birth defects or other reproductive harm. Okay, this goes to our ice maker. So one side goes to the washer, cold on the washer, and the other side goes to the ice maker. That's how I wired our ice maker when we bought a refrigerator with an ice maker 10 or plus years ago. And what does that say? Couldn't never read any of the rest of it. Plastic bag, choking hazard, not for children under 3 years. But if you're 4, you can play with it and chew on it, whatever you want. Okay, what is that? Let's see. And I was going to make a point. Yeah, I have not opened this bag at all, so I didn't break it or anything, you know. And I made sure I didn't open the bag. I tested them first. I'm glad I got lucky and thought of that. But trying to see. Can't really read it all. Solid brass, Y connector, comfort, G and something, new. Yeah, there's your barcode to scan. Use the Google, what's that? There's a Google app you can do that, even just, you know, with your camera, even with from a picture. Well, of course, it wouldn't be any different. If I held that there, well, you could freeze it. But if you got a good enough view of it, then you could scan it, and it'll show you where the product's for sale and stuff like that. I've done it with stuff before. Anyway, and it's in another bag inside of there, but that's, I can tell that bag's open. But I'm gonna write on there. I keep debating it. Like I said, I put it on the in the bag that it came in. Just came in one of these bags. I'll show it up on my main camera. Bad valve. I'm gonna write it. If I can write. It's hard to write on a plastic bag. Stuck. Well, I managed to get plenty of it on my fingers. That stuff doesn't dry very fast. I think that's an off-brand of Sharpie type marker. I think they dry a lot slower than Sharpies. They sure were a lot cheaper. For some reason I don't remember why I did it, but I bought a whole pack of all different colors. It looks pretty red. That's orange, but it looks pretty red on there. So anyway, I don't have to keep showing that, do I? Okay, so the thing is going back in its see, I'll show you, there's something that's a little different now with the returning with Amazon from the last time I did it. They used to, well, a long time ago, they told you to put this little letter, the return authorization in the sack, and they're telling you to do that now. For a while, they were coming and picking it up. You didn't even have to print the label, but this time I had to print this label. They said, you know, stick it back over the old label on the box you had, and it said on there to take off any other labels. There was one down there, and I went and used a hairdryer and got that one up, because many times I've just marked them out, and a couple of times I didn't even know if it mattered, and the guy that came and got it from UPS just put a X on it, you know, with a pencil pen or something, not even a marker, I don't think. Anyway, put it in there with the return authorization, and I got some real good thick tape. I'll tape it up with here in a minute. But they sent it that way, so I'm sending it back that way. And for two reasons. I was thinking I was gonna put it in a box, but I didn't really have any. I saved some boxes, but not all of them, because we do order quite a bit of things. We don't go anywhere much. We order most of the time. So I'm gonna get on the desktop now. But I wanted to show, but you know, they probably won't give any trouble whatsoever, but if they do, it's in the sealed sack. And I show that it's, if the, you know, like whoever receives it trying to say it wasn't broke, I beg to differ, because I got a video to prove it. That's why I had it in the mailbox, and then I said, oh, I forgot to make my video. I was going to make it. So I went and got it, because I still have time before they pick up the mail. I do want it to go ahead and go out today, if possible. It's almost 8 now. I mean, they usually don't come till closer to 11:30 to 3, you know, p.m., 11:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. Okay, desktop, let's switch back. SM58. Okay, let's get on I'll show you the information about it, and then I'll where I bought, you know, the one I bought, page I bought it from, and show you the. Okay, and guess I can pause my preview and let my laptop have a little rest now. Let it play so I could see how to aim things and all that. Okay, so $7.99. It's cheaper. I paid $8 something for it. It'll be on my little, let's see. Is it on there? $8.65 is what I paid for it. I don't think there was any tax, or could have been. Anyway, that's it. And brass, in the first place, brass used to be a wonderful, long-lasting plumbing material. The valve that's out there in the garage that this screws on, I'm screwing this onto, has been there. One I might have replaced, the hot water one, but the cold water one is still the same one from when this house was built in the about 1963 or somewhere around in there. We moved into this house when I was in 4th grade, when I was a kid, in probably 66 or something like that. So we've never, I know that I'm sure it hasn't been replaced. Just almost positive. That's how long the brass will last. And but that warning on there. Now there's always. I didn't know. I actually don't remember ever knowing it with plumbing fixtures that they actually did put a little lead in. They have always did, and now they're beginning to, well, they started paying attention to it big time in the 50s and 60s, but then just in the last 20 years you hear more about it in plumbing. Well, the problem is they're going. China and some of these other countries are doing it again in larger and evidently in larger quantities than they ever used to. In America, we had they made safety rules, and they started realizing what lead was doing to people and children pretty much in the 50s, I think, and on up. And, they started, all kinds of things had lead in it. And so anyway, it doesn't say what was in there on that warning, but it says materials, but it's probably lead, because I do know and I've done, in the last few years, I started remembering, I didn't work in that foundry for about several months. I was 16 years old, and actually I started in one machine shop, and then then I went to another, I won't go a long story. I went to another machine shop and then went back to the first machine shop. And the first machine shop was just a machine shop. And then we made a lot, we made a whole bunch of stick shift for Jeeps. And then we made a lot of just parts, just machine parts. But I remember drilling thousands of holes in the bottom of those stick shifts for the Jeeps. They were actually cast steel, but we had to drill the holes in them for them. And they were cast somewhere else. I'm not sure. Now, they weren't. I don't think they were cast at that other machine shop, because they only did aluminum and brass. Anyway, that's just some pictures of things. But of course, they all say how wonderful they are, and this one had the best. Sure, well, the handles, yeah, they're plastic. Well, does it contain lead? Brass is an alloy of copper and zinc. That's what they answered here. That is not. It doesn't say answer by the seller, though. All brass contains a small amount of lead. Yeah, see, I'm pretty sure it does. The brass is one of the main things that it did put lead in to improve machinability. That's what they say. I didn't remember why they did it. I thought it made it stronger, which maybe that's it. I think it gets more crumbly if it doesn't have any lead in it. And somebody said, "Don't be fooled. Brass means nothing." And if you could kind of, well, that's in 2016 though. If you look, I looked for a couple of. Actually, I spent a whole day like 6 hours or something, comparing items and for other things too. Not just this. And that day, and I wore myself out. I didn't know what I was reading anymore. But it has 74%. 5 stars, and that's usually a real good sign, about as good as you get. Sometimes you'll see up in the 80s, 83, 84, but so it's fairly good. I mean, I'd rather see it higher than 74, but most things are under that. Most things are in the 50 to 60% 5 stars. But the ones that hate it really hate it, and that is 27 days ago. Broke after one winter. Works well, and so let's see, there's one that. Oh, this is where somebody said it can cause. I looked at the package and it said turn the package over and saw that it can cause defects. Not something I care to have water running through, and so I thought, well, it's. I figured. I didn't say anything about California there. I did see that before I bought it, but I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. But it also wasn't going through my mind. Okay, this does go to your ice maker, and it's the thing is, it sits there. What happens with something, like when you turn on your faucet, you're always going to run a little bit of water before you. Usually, most of the time, just without thinking, before you put some in your cup, because you want it to cool down a little bit in the summer, or maybe sometimes maybe some people I do it as a matter of habit, but some people may put their cup under there and turn it on, Well, I've always wanted to make sure there wasn't any dirt and crap in there, so even if I wasn't thinking of anything else, and so I always turn it on first. And here, like right now, it's summer and the water actually stays warm no matter what. But
or if somebody's been running hot water, you know, you just want. If I drink tap water, I think it's ridiculous to pay all that money for water that's in plastic bottles. No, plastic bottles. You know, they claim, oh, we have clean plastic bottles and all that, but plastic is a petroleum product. It's going to leach, and it's very porous. It soaks up things, and it's also going to emit. Sometimes, you know, a lot of them stink, and you can smell it, and you can taste it. And they've proven over the years that, you know, certain types of plastic, they changed some rules over the years about what kind of plastic you could put water in and food and drinks and stuff. But I don't like drinking out of plastic bottles, and especially I don't think that a tiny little old bottle of 16 ounces of water is worth $1 or more. So I'm already paying for water. And I would really rather trust my local city water. I'm in the city now. When I lived out in the country, I had community well water. That was good water. Tasted good. A lot of iron in it. But I'd rather trust that. At least the people are local, and they may be drinking the water too, than some company that the only reason they're bottling that water is to make money. You know, so they're going to cut corners to make more money if they think they need to. So that's my thing about drinking. You know, but about water safety. You know, what you're drinking or anything. If you're drinking Cokes and all that stuff out of plastic bottles. So anyway, what I was trying to say is, generally you run some water before you put it in your cup. But when you've got the water, okay, it's coming out of the pipe, and of course, let's just say, our town is, well, it's an old enough town, but this neighborhood was built in the 60s, so I don't think we have any lead pipes between here and the city, right? But I'm not, you know, there is lead pipes and all. Older cities have lead pipes. You're not getting away from it, you know. Now maybe bottled water might be better there, but I don't know why they ever used lead pipes. I guess they just didn't know way back in the early 1900s, you know. But having so much trouble keeping them on track. Okay, so the water sits in your pipe. It has plenty of time to soak up whatever's in the pipe. And this little Y, if it's got brass in it, it's brass, but it has lead in it, and it may be some zinc and other stuff too, and maybe there's a lot in it. If it's cheaper to do it that way, these manufacturers will do it that way. You know, that's their thing. They're going to do what's cheaper. And well, brass is this, you know, not a really cheap metal, so evidently, since you've been hearing reports since the 90s about extra lead and especially Chinese products, even children's toys. I'll never forget Mattel moved their manufacturing to China. I think it was in the 90s, from what I can barely remember. My kids were kids in the 80s, and I don't remember it happening. It could have been when they were like teenagers when it started happening in the late 80s. But anyway, and I've heard it again in the last 15 years or so. I heard them talking about it again. But they were putting a lot of more lead than they could even ever imagine, you know, that was ever thought anybody would do in children's toys, you know, toys that are little bitty kids would probably chew on, you know, like little Matchbox cars and stuff like that, or those little, well, I don't know, they used to make some little aluminum, you know, Army men type stuff, you know, little figure, what do they call them, figures. Anyway, I got sidetracked again, but when your water is setting in your water pipe, it has time, just, you know, to in between, you know, you don't wash as often, you know, even if you wash every day. Somebody usually washes something every day here, but you're opening your faucets a lot more often than even that, you know, with the washer. Okay, so it's setting there for hours and hours now. Every, you know, 2 or 3 times a day, the ice maker's hooked up to this same, you know, with this Y, one side's going to the washer, one's going to the ice maker, so it's going to open up and pour that water right into the ice maker. Well, that's getting every bit. If there's any impurities in there, any lead or any other thing, it's going straight into that ice maker and getting made into ice so that you can put it into your cup, you know. So I thought, wow. The one that I have on there now, when this other one broke, I had one I don't even remember where we got it or whatever, but it was in my new parts bucket. Literally a bucket with new plumbing parts in it, and it was plastic, and it does have valves on it. And I put it on there, and I stripped the side that went to the ice maker. I actually got it's kind of hard to get on straight, and I got it crooked and almost ruined the thread. So I was kind of worried that it might start leaking at some point in the near future. And also, I'm not so sure how well it'll handle what happened to that aluminum one is evidently. I mean, it's been on there for years. You can see it's really old, so it might have just got that old. But I'm sure cold weather made it crack. You know. I've seen plenty of things get crack in the cold weather, you know, water lines and stuff over the years. And I guess I can quit just sitting here on this white page. I was in the middle of going through that. Okay, so you can see me wave my hands and stuff. So the but we got funny thing. We got a new our heaters. Well, we had several ones over the years, and we kept hanging on to them until they just wouldn't do the job anymore. They'd get to where they would overheat and blow their own little circuit, you know. And we finally, we got to get a new heater. We keep a heater in the garage close to the washer for that to keep it from freezing. And we got a new one, a bigger one that works better. You can actually feel the difference out there. But I do remember that, you know, our weather these days, you know, you'll have a couple of below freezing days, and then it'll go up to 75 degrees, you know, in the middle of winter. And then it'll go back down in one day within 10 hours or easy, back down to below freezing. I've seen, we had 80s. We had it in the 80s. I think we had a couple of days at 85 here in North Texas during January and February and stuff. I remember it was crazy. So, you know, it kept somebody would turn it off. Because we'd have several days, maybe a week of fairly spring-like weather, you know, and then one day, boom, it'd catch us and get cold. So I'm sure that's what happened. And I kept turning it. I would turn it when I'd see it off. I would turn it on, but put the thermostat down. But I don't even know who turned it off. Somebody else turned it off completely, and a couple of times I saw it like that. About 3 or 4 times actually. So I'm pretty sure it got caught because, but it wasn't leaking until now, and here we are in June. You know, almost the end of June. So nobody's been banging into it or anything. I guess it just it was very close to leaking. It might have been just dripping and we didn't really realize it. But I do remember seeing a little water. Actually, it could have been dripping for a year. I think there was little puddles of water under the washer every time we would wash that I kept thinking were probably coming out of the water pump or one of the hoses or something like that. Kept thinking, well, something's going to blow, and it's been over a year, maybe longer. So I haven't moved the washer and looked. Well, you didn't have to move it because it would kind of seep out the sides. You know, I noticed there was a lot of soap under there. We use liquid soap, and there was a lot of soap under there, and I'm still not quite sure how that got under there. I tracked up the whole garage floor, stepping in that junk, and some have got in the house, and I had to clean it up. So anyway, it's not leaking. It's not it's not running out from under the washer. I've checked it. I haven't checked it. I checked it the first 2 or 3 days a lot. Now I haven't been since then. I haven't thought about it. But yeah. So I don't think anybody, if they thought about it, and it didn't register with me. If you think through, I don't think anybody wants anything with anything potentially toxic or birth defective, going to your ice maker. So that's kind of a happy mistake. The one guy always says, I like to watch his woodworking videos. So anyway, the thing being broke is much aggravating as it is actually working out for my good. So because I'm definitely not going to keep the thing. I'm going to send it back, and I don't have to debate about whether, is it really, you think there's that much in it? Is it really, the more I'm sitting here talking about it, yeah, I'm worried about it. I wouldn't have used it on there now. I mean, it looks so good. It looks like it would last, but if you let, I don't care what it is, brass, plastic, anything. I used to, the old brass, could handle being frozen and not crack. Our outside water faucets have been frozen many times over the years, and the back one has still never been replaced, but it is in the hotter, the side the sun shines on from about noon on. The front one is the one that don't get but just a couple hours of sun in the morning. I had to replace it probably a couple of times, and it's hard to replace them without breaking the pipes. They get. Back to this one, I tried to replace the faucet because as I was working on it, it closed. It didn't leak when it was open all the way, but when I closed it, it still dribbled some. Driven not out of the stem, but out of the actual, water spigot itself. And so it was kind of making more of a mess, as I was working. And then when I got it all back together with the new plastic Y and everything, all my connections there were good, but the spigot handle started, right where the stem goes into the faucet was leaking. And I thought, sometimes you can just turn them back and forth and they'll quit leaking. But I couldn't get it to quit, and I tried to replace it. It just didn't want to come off, and I knew I'd end up breaking the pipe because when I replaced the one on the hot water, I had to cut them all out and put a wrench on that pipe because, we have copper in our walls, and in our floors, but copper's not that tough, And I was going back here just to kind of go back to the reviews, but there's nothing really else to see on there. So I just finally gave up, and I just thought, well, I'm going to put it all back together, and I thought, well, I guess I'll have to turn the water off because at least it wouldn't leak when it was turned off. Well, when and before I gave up, I thought, well, maybe I can get it apart and take the stem out and see if I can replace, any seals or anything in there. And I used Rust Buster to try to loosen it up. I always do that, and it's this product called Rust Buster. It's one of the best, Rust Buster that I've ever found. And the handle's always, the little screw. Even though it's everything's usually brass, and it looked like it was the old original one, the screw that holds the handle on. Usually the handles are aluminum, but they will oxidize, and they don't want to come out. And if you don't watch out, you'll break the head off. Then you got a mess. But I sprayed it and tapped on it. You can tap when things are rusted or oxidized. You can tap on them and break that up sometimes. But you got to be careful with things like water, faucets and things like that. You can break them. So anyway, I tapped on as much as I thought I should, and I was just about to. It was just a slot head screw, and I was just about to strip it out where it wouldn't work. So I thought, well, even if I get enough grab on it, it's just going to break off because I've broken them enough times. So I gave up. I was worn out because I had been up all night and I had painted the wall where I'd taken down the TV I was talking about earlier. I had been spackling the spot where the mount had had been taped, basically painted to the wall, and even though I tried to be real careful, it still ripped out a chunk. And I had been spackling the wall. I'd spackle it, and then it would dry and shrink, and then I'd do it the next day and let it dry. And then that morning, about 2 in the morning, I painted that whole wall, and everything looked nice, and I was done. And then in the middle of all that, the wall found out the water was leaking, coming, and it had ended up soaking that whole wall where the faucets were and everything. So anyway, because it was dripping down the pipe, going down through the wall to the freezer. So it was a big, it was a big deal on top of my other project, and the reason I was up all night is because I always get my schedule turned around, and plus I thought doing it in the middle of the night would be good because it wouldn't be anybody in there, and I could work in the kitchen, but it didn't work out. But anyway, there was somebody there. Our kitchen's 24/7, I guess. So at least for a part of the time, and what am I trying to say now? Well, see how my mind's not working good. My health is not very good, and I wear out easy, so my mind doesn't always work good. So I was just it felt like I was going to fall down. I was so worn out. But I knew I had needed to do it if I possibly could. So when I gave up and put it all back together, after I'd sprayed it with the valve with a Rust Buster, trying to get the handle off, it quit leaking. And so I was able to open it up all the way, and it was fine. And it turned really well, too, by then. So then I was like, I thought, well, maybe, I don't know why it didn't dawn on me, because I was thinking, okay, tapping on it probably knocked loose some junk that was in the valve or something. And then it may have, but, well, I had already done that, and it didn't help. But after I sprayed it with Rust Buster, and I kept trying to get it off, I couldn't, you can't tell by looking at them sometimes. Some of them, actually, I thought you had to have the handle off, but I couldn't remember for sure. I thought, well, maybe it'll come out, so I was trying to get it off, but you needed the handle off because you got to slide that nut off, and I don't remember what all you got to do. It's been too many years since I took one of those old faucets apart. But anyway, I had, I believe the Rust Buster made the seal, whatever kind of seal it had in there. It probably wasn't rubber. It might be, back a long time ago, they used to have, it might have been leather. I mean, it looked, I remember years ago, those, and see, this thing was made in the, probably in, this faucet was made and put in this house in probably around 1963, so it was probably made, somewhere before, in 1963 or before that, and a year or two before that. So they had something that, I don't think it was leather, but it kind of looked like leather. Years and years ago, I think they really did use leather, but they had some materials that were kind of pressed together that had the look of leather. Leather wouldn't last that long. I've seen leather as in lots of different things, and it'll last pretty good, but not 60 or whatever years, 55, 60 years. So anyway, one thing about leather, you can oil it up, and it'll expand and start working again as a seal. Tell you one thing, you have, let's see, yeah. Oh, when I was a kid, the BB guns when I was a kid, that you just cock them and pump up the air in one shot, they had leather. I had to take mine apart when they wore out, and they had leather. The piston had leather on it. That was its ring. That was the piston ring. And the newer ones that actually didn't last as long, they had rubberized seals on them. And they'll dry and crack is what happened with them. You can't just oil them and get them to work again. So anyway, that's one thing I remember seeing, having leather seals. My Daisy BB gun. I still have it. It's still in the garage. It don't have any power left. You can only keep that leather working. It's still got the original leather seal in it, though. But anyway, it's not. It just hasn't leaked again. Of course, if you get them to quit leaking and get them open and leave them, they usually don't leak anymore. But those valves, I mean, not the BB guns, and. So it's doing great. I'm just kind of worried about how that plastic will fare. If we accidentally let it get too cold in there, we always try to just keep it warm. My mom likes to keep it warm enough for her with the washer and dryer's out there, and she don't like freezing to death to go out there and wash and dry clothes. So she likes to have a big heater out there. And of course, if I was up to it many years ago, I would have insulated the garage and stuff, but it's not insulated. None of the walls, or the back wall doesn't even have sheetrock on the inside, but it is a brick house, so there is some insulation from the brick, but of course, and the door's sealed up. We put a new door in last year or year before, and so it's sealed up as good as it can be. Well, actually, that brand new, another thing, bought a brand new strip door sweep, rubber door sweep to put on the bottom of it, and it's already breaking. The rubber's already broke off it. I noticed that. I thought it looked like a good one, but they don't make rubber like they used to. They don't make nothing like they used to. And probably you young people just can't believe it. I remember when my grandparents would tell me that. I just thought, boy, you go on about that a lot. Well, the thing is, they were right, and I'm right too, because we know, we grew up with this stuff. When we were young adults, this stuff everything lasted longer than it does now. I mean, things come into you broken out of the factory. That's unheard of. When I was young, I remember the first couple of times I did get something like that. Well, only time you'd ever get something like that, like car parts, it'd be rebuilt stuff. And then I remember. And I got to where I didn't like to buy rebuilt stuff, because that was common with rebuilt car parts. And I used to work on my cars, all my cars. And I got to where I'd only buy new car parts. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember I was in my early 20s the first time I ever saw, a DOA car part, and I was really surprised and really aggravated. It doesn't. If you're working, usually you're trying to get your car going to go back to work the next day, or maybe it's over the weekend or whatever. It's just not something you're going to put up with, and people they jumped to straighten things out, when something like that happens. And now they got the audacity. Oh yeah, I don't know how can I? Well, I won't go try to open it up. I don't even have my email open, and I really have too many things open. But yeah, there. Okay, I showed the return. Did I? Oh, I didn't go into that. Okay, I'll go into that in a minute. And I really ought to shut that. I'm running so much stuff on this machine. And I meant to not run it for very long at all. It could mess up my stream. So I won't open any other programs up. I'll close this too. Okay, so what I was going to say, I'm on me. Okay, well, let me go to the desktop before I start talking about desktop stuff again and forget. First off, let's just show this, and then I'll go to the when I wrote the seller. Okay, how you want to send it back has changed. UPS drop off, find a UPS, Amazon locker. I don't know what that is. That's something new to me. You don't have a printer, that's fine. Find a UPS store. And you know what? I live in a little town called Azle, Texas, which is about 15 miles northwest of Fort Worth, Texas, which is, if you never heard of that, then it's about 60 miles from the center of Fort Worth to the center of downtown Dallas. No, 60 miles from here where I live to the center of downtown Dallas. Fort Worth is going to be closer, but Dallas, Texas. So I live in the DFW area is what they call it. I live about 60 miles from Dallas. So I think they have one. What I'm trying to say is I think I have seen somewhere by accident, not even looking, that they have one or two in Fort Worth now, these UPS. That's a UPS store. I was thinking Amazon store. Oh, that one, something says, I didn't read it all. Something about an Amazon store, I thought. Yeah, UPS stores, of course, we don't have an actual UPS store, but we have some UPS providers, businesses that have a UPS pick up and drop off in their business. I did this, USPS, local postal service. Here, and this I had to read over and over to make sure. Postal carrier will pick up your return, just leave it in your mailbox. You can also drop it off at the USPS post office, print the return shipping label, anytime from your orders or email. So it says put it in your mailbox. Well, I've never had to do that before. Usually it was UPS coming to pick it up. They would come and pick it up. Now, I don't know if that's just because this is a cheaper product without as big of a profit margin, or if that's how they're doing it now. And it is small enough, obviously, to fit in your mailbox. Oh, yeah, I got to go put that in the mailbox. I need to quit jabbering and get off this video. So anyway, that's what I did, and that is different. Now, I thought, before it really dawned on me that I don't want the thing no matter what, I kind of already thought about it, but, because of the lead in it, I knew it was going to be lead. It didn't, on the sticker, if they put a sticker on it, giving you one of those warnings, of course, one of the things is why I didn't think a lot about it, but when I first saw it, it said in California. I thought, well, California thinks everything's going to kill you, And, but then I got to thinking, wait a minute, I used to pour brass, and I don't remember, we didn't put lead in our brass when we poured it. Really, we had these ingots that you bought ready to melt and pour is what we had. Our aluminum was these aluminum ingots about so big, and the brass were smaller, I think. And we didn't mix our own stuff. They were alloys, both of them. They called alloys when they have, other metals mixed in, other metals and stuff mixed in with them. We didn't mix our own. They were all pre-mixed, but or they were already poured. They were already poured into ingots, from some supplier. So anyway, but I did know, especially in the recent years, I found out that I didn't ever know about plumbing faucets and stuff having lead in them until the last 10. Well, I guess I found out around 2000 or a little after that or something. But anyway, so I have known it. And so then I got to, and because there was a thing about Home Depot, we bought a faucet that, it turned out it made the water stink. And I was reading online about it, trying to figure out, and people were saying, they were saying they thought it was because it's how it was made. People were talking about having a lot of lead in them and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh. And then I found out that all plumbing has some lead in it. But there's supposed to be a certain amount that's safe, and all that stuff. So anyway, I went into, now you know what I'm thinking now. Well, yeah, I don't want anything like that. Now the plastic, there's a wide variety of, when they're making water hose wise, they're not made for human consumption. They'll tell you don't drink out of our water hoses. It'll say that on when you buy one nowadays. It'll say don't drink out of our water hoses because you may be drinking chemicals, When we were growing up, you didn't think about things like that. And when none of us died, we drank out of the water hose all the time. But it is different now because crazy enough, as much more society knows about things and what's toxic and what's not. They're actually taking more chances now than they did when I was growing up, when I was young. So I pay attention to any warnings now a lot more than I used to. Okay, so I wrote the manufacturer, or not the manufacturer, I wrote the seller, and I forgot to see if I can go back to that page. That was the other thing I wanted to say, to put in this video. See if I can go back. I wish I hadn't closed that now. I had a funny feeling you might be wishing you had that open. Okay, no, it worked out okay. Okay, so it says AVN, 51 customer reviews. It's always tricky. You have to really read every little word to figure out. And still, it's case prime. This is part and under the prime stuff, and it says, where does it say? Sold by Tool Deals. Okay, sold by Tool Deals and fulfilled by Amazon. Okay. And so when I was looking at my order, if you ever shop on Amazon, you can go to your orders, and I'm not going to go in there because it's got too much personal information in there. But you can go to your orders, and I clicked on the links to tell me, who I bought it from, and it was this Tool Deals. So, and I had a deal where you could contact them. So I wrote them and I said, this is froze, the valve's froze, and it's useless. I can't use it. They wrote back and said, oh, sorry, in the way I think I'm going to have to open that up just to show you. They wrote me back, and it just flat infuriated me, the way they answered. And you read on these reviews, people say, I'm going to go ahead and open up my email and see if I can find that. Oh, I've got it I've got that particular email saved in my files, I think. Well, I might not. So I've already got this going. And they'll say, this seller was really great. They sent me another one and all that stuff. And at first I was thinking, well, that might be okay. Before I realized, well, I don't want that thing on using, what I bought it for, I don't want it. So, let's see. I use Thunderbird for my email. I don't usually want to open it up, but you can't really hide your email. Everybody can see your email address anyway. So, let's see. This is about getting my. There it is. I think that's going to be it. Okay. Okay, here it is, right here. I guess it's actually from Amazon. Yeah, it's Tool Deals. Oh, it's from Tool Deals at Amazon Marketplace. Okay. It says, received a message. It's kind of a notice, And it says, we apologize for there being an issue with your order. This order has been fulfilled and shipped by Amazon. Please contact Amazon customer service, blah, 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 for further assistance. If you have any further questions, please feel free to let us know. Thank you for your purchase and have a great rest of your day. In other words, screw off. We don't care. That's the way I read it. Um, it says on this page, I just showed it, it's sold by them, and yeah, Amazon ships it out. Well, Amazon's just the shipper. They're just the middleman. They're not selling it. Tool Deals is selling it. There are a lot of things on. I try to pay attention to that because it's aggravating how complicated it is. Amazon sells things themselves, a lot of things, especially if it says it's in Prime, you know. But this is, it said right on there, sold by Tool Deals, fulfilled by Amazon. So they're the seller. They're the wholesaler, I guess you would say in this case. But they're saying we don't care, you know. To me, it's actually very smart letter. And I didn't get it right with them or anything. I didn't write, but like, you know, one valve is stuck and won't open. This product is not usable. See, I didn't even use an explanation point, even though I was really pissed. And so that right there, that's why I really wanted to make a video. That was the reason. Because they just had this canned response. It's sent the day I read it. I thought there was words in there. I don't know. It does. The day I read it, I was already aggravated, and so it made me even more aggravated. Yesterday, day before, I think it was yesterday. So, oh, holy crap! Well, I didn't show you my email because I showed you myself. Oh well, can't fix. I could go back and show it again, but I didn't really want to show you my email. So, I don't know how many times I've done that. I've got all this work to do on my. I need to reformat this machine I'm streaming from today. That's what my big plan is. Yesterday I didn't feel good and I didn't do any work at all. Kept trying to get started all day or all night. So this kind of stuff, you know, everybody I think agree. This kind of stuff always comes at a very unwelcome time. So that's why I decided to go ahead and take the time to share this. And warn you to don't buy that valve from Tool Deals, and I wouldn't expect them to take care of you the way they're not even gonna. I mean, they didn't say we're sorry we sold you a defective product. They didn't say, like you do read lots of reviews where even some of these. Well, I mean, Tool Deals. I don't know where they're at. Sometimes you can tell real quick that they're in China, and sometimes they're actually like an American reseller ordering from China. Of course, it's not none of it's very few things are made here anymore, sadly. So I don't know, but I've seen where some of these Chinese companies, they're actually taking customer support seriously is what I was trying to say. And people are saying, oh, they sent me one without it, that's why I went ahead and wrote them first, because usually I just click on that button that says return, on the website, on the Amazon website. And almost every time they say, did you contact the seller first? I said, no. I didn't even think about doing it, I bought it from Amazon, and I'm sending it back through your little system, or whatever. I don't care how your back end works, I just care. I want to return it, But then I thought, well, over the last several years, I've been shopping on Amazon since way back, 10 plus years. I think it's really longer than that. I can't remember when I first started, but easily 10 years. I think it's more like 15. But and one of the reasons why I kept doing it is because they're real good about straightening things out and letting you return it without any hassle or anything. But they do change back how they do things. You got to pay attention, just like they're going up. The last several years I've had that Amazon Prime, and then you can just because then we could. It turns out they don't have much. I'm too interested in watching on their online watching TV, video movies and video TV shows. Their TV shows are all really old, and one or two new ones that are. Anyway, I just don't like. I mostly watch YouTube videos anymore, I don't like most of what's on TV and movies these days anymore. It's just too violent and too sad and too upsetting, and I just don't want. I always liked uh, a shoot 'em up movie to a certain extent, but not where you see all the blood and guts going everywhere and all that. And anyway, if it's too real, and if it's about a criminal chasing people and killing them, all that, I never wanted to watch that kind of stuff. That's not entertainment to me, and that's all they want to put on TV anymore. It's cop shows about people getting murdered, and the movies are. Anyway, I'm going on about other stuff. I'm just hardest time staying in track here. So this thing is going back. That's the point, right? Okay. You're going back, and you better get you out on the mailbox here again before, now it's almost getting close to 9 o'clock, and they have come at around 9 o'clock. Okay, so I don't know. I was trying, I hate to leave, like when I completely forget my train of thought, I hate to just quit. And then I'll say, oh, I meant to say that, but oh well. I'm going to go, and hopefully I will get to go back to work and get something done on reformatting the system here. Got to make sure it's all backed up and everything. But, okay. So that Tool Deals, I will try to make darn sure if I don't order anything that they sell it in. Because, number one, because they sent me a brand new broken part, and that's not acceptable to me ever. Number two is because of the way they answered me when I wrote to them. So, there you go. I'm going to go now. And, yeah, I'm thinking, and it's becoming, lately, there's been more. I've had to send 3 things back in the last 6 months. And that's getting ridiculous. So I'm thinking twice about ordering at Amazon. And Amazon Prime is going up $20 in August for me. So, the free shipping is nice, but the TV and videos aren't that good. That's why I was talking about that. So I don't know. I might cancel that Amazon Prime. So we'll see. All right. Bye.